Good morning, and welcome to Ag Talking the Raw, where we talk all about agriculture and whatever else is on my mind. If you don't like it, too bad. Don't watch. That's just the way this thing works. I don't want snowflakes here. They can all go melt with the rest of the stupid snowflakes that are marching around saying that all firearms are bad, and we need to disarm the American people so they can not defend themselves against threats, foreign and domestic. So, anyway, with that, see you snowflakes. We don't like you here anyway. All right, so last week I was talking about the dairy industry and how it is it's a dead end. I mean, we sold the cows in 2011 not because we were going bankrupt. It was because we weren't making any money. Take one crop, pass it through a cow, and then get less for it than if we just sold it outright. And that's the truth. By the time you pay the vet bills and everything else, because we did herd checks, wellness checks, we did all that stuff. We did DHIA, Dairy Herd Improvement Agency, came in and did I think that's what it stands for, I can't even remember now. But the DHIA testing, they came in, tested for proteins and other things, and then we got a report back on the cows that needed to be culled out, the ones that were, not producing correctly. It all came down to, making a dairy efficient. And it was expensive, it cost a lot of money to do those things. So we decided that, milking cows and grinding feed every other day and putting up silage and putting up baleage and feeding them hay, might as well just sell these commodities. Yes, commodities outright, so that we would just make the money on the commodity instead of passing it through the cow to sell milk for less than what the commodity was worth. And that's what it boiled down to. The dairymen are special people. I mean, we love our cows. We work really hard. Every morning we get up and say, you know what, if milk price would just hit that $18 a hundred and stay there, or that $20 a hundred and stay there, it'd be great, but it doesn't. It doesn't stay there. And this is some of the stuff that really pissed me off when I was milking cows. And I quit milking cows before we sold the cows. I helped my dad. He was milking the cows. It was his deal. I hated him. I hated the fact that we worked so hard for so little. And, when you work really hard, just put this into perspective for non-ag folks. You work really, really hard. And I can say that Teresa had this experience. I never knew prejudice and discrimination against a human being until I met Teresa. Teresa worked at a place. Yay, she had a job and she was working really well. She still has a job. She works. She works for me, and she works part-time for someone else 2 days a week. And she makes pretty good money there. So anyway, with that being said, she worked at a place, and she is a dedicated person. When she puts her mind to doing something, she will do it to further the people that she's working for, and she would expect a reward. So she worked really hard. She took a department in the store that she worked. She took that department from a $2,000 a month income to like a $14,000 a month income. Just herself. She ran that department to the point where she needed help, and they wouldn't give her the help. So she would come home just flat out exhausted. She was losing weight. I mean, this girl, she's only 110 pounds soaking wet anyway. If she's that. And she's a pretty muscular girl. Which I like. But anyway, she was that weight, but she was losing weight from the stress of the working that the job that she was doing. She asked for a raise. She's like, hey, here's the statistics of what I've done here. I'd like a $2 an hour raise, which some people are like, oh my God, $2 an hour? That's a lot of money. Well, they said, sorry, no, we're not doing that. So the department that she worked in, she quit. She said, you know what, if you don't give me the $2 an hour raise, I'm leaving. And she did. She put in her 2 weeks notice, and she left that place permanently. She's not going back. They thought she would be back, but she's not going back. She came to work for me, and which is great because I really do appreciate the help. So that's exactly what it is in the dairy business. We put in a lot of time, put in a lot of work. Equipment is not getting any cheaper. The price of milk kind of stays the same. And that would be great if all dairy equipment would stay the same price. But the problem with that is that dairy equipment isn't going to stay the same price. It's just not. Milk price should stay. If the milk price doesn't come up, then the equipment company should be regulated like the milk price is. So if we're going to be producing milk for an average price of $13 and change, and that's usually where it ends up at the end of the year. I mean, 2 years ago, a friend of mine, he's milking cows. He says, "Oh, this is great. I'm making money hand over fist. I'm getting $21 a hundred now for the last 4 or 5 months." Yep. And then they pulled the rug out from under him. Said, "Oh, there's a surplus of milk. Sorry, $10.50." Which drug him right back down to, they advertise, "Oh, dairy farmers made more money than they ever did before by 2 pennies. By 2 cents a hundred." What the fuck is that? That's nothing. I mean, you can't buy even a blower to put your crop up the silo anymore for under 10 grand. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I've pieced together 2 different blowers in my life just because we couldn't afford to buy a new one to put up the crop that fed the cows to make the money that we were making, So anyway, of course, my grandmother, she was Depression era, and she wasn't going to put any more money into anything if she didn't have to. So that was just the way that worked. But anyways, and it's the same way with Teresa's job. She quit, and what did they do? They got a slacker in her position, and guess where they're at? They're back down from, say, 14 grand a month down to that 2,000 a month, and they're just not doing it right. And because Teresa will still go to that store to purchase stuff, and she's not. She's like, it's disgusting. She said, everything that I did, and it took me a year and a half to do, is undone in a couple of months. And people complained. And not only that, is because she was in that department, people would come into that store just for the goods that she was producing, and then shop a little bit more. So you go in to pick up one product, and then, I could use this, I could use that. So not only did the store that she was, or the department that she was working in, expand and grow and produce more money for the owners, other areas of the store benefited as well, like the deli and even the dried goods and stuff. So she was doing so well that some of the other departments were trying to encroach on her department, putting up a table there so that they would sell more through her department. And it kind of overcrowded it, and people were knocking stuff off of tables and stuff because she was doing so well. And it was all over a $2 an hour raise. Okay, so a $2 an hour raise, this girl's putting in 8 to 10 hours a day. We're talking $20 a day, $20 a day on so we times that. She had 1 day a week off. She was not working on Sundays. So 6 days a week, 20 hours a day, $20 a day, times 6, 2 times 6 is $120. So 120 times 4 for 120 to 240, $480. So they couldn't squeeze out an extra $480 for her a month to produce, and she would probably be in that $20,000 a month range right now. And not only that, and it's the same thing in the dairy business. The more milk we produce, and it's a supply and demand thing. I get it, but man, at least cap it. Okay, we're going to produce a high quality milk. Lower somatic cells and higher protein. Better quality milk altogether. Not higher protein. That'd be blood in your milk. We don't want that. But a better quality product, being rewarded for, get that milk. So, 60 cow herds or 100 cow herds. If you made all dairies 100 cow herds like they were back in the 70s, 50 to 100 cows. That's what they were back in the 70s. When I was a kid, we bought combines, we bought corn planters, grain drills, tractors, and it was on milk and grain. Today, the 1980s, the farm collapsed. So everything that happened in the 1970s to free up quotas, and there wasn't really a quota on milk, but people were able to produce more because the tractors got better, but fertilization products or products, fertilizers and programs got better. People learned more about herbicides and insecticides, and cultivation kind of went away, and we were able to produce a huge crop. Now, we got this huge crop, but the population never stopped growing. And that's the funny thing. The population never stopped growing. And the next wave of farm collapse is going to be in the organic sector. I know there's a lot of guys that are like, oh, grow organic. You'll make 5 times as much money on half the work. Well, it's twice the work and twice the pay. So for every hour put in, you're making the same amount, But as people jump the fence from commercial or conventional production to organic production, there's going to be a decline in that price also, because organically grown food is going to be abundant, and you're going to create a competition with your neighbor, and your neighbor's going to be like, hey, wait a minute, you're selling organic celery for $5 a pound, and I got to sell it for $7 a pound. Why don't you bring your price up? Well, I'm not going to bring my price up. I'm making good money at $5 a pound. Well, why not you bring your price down? Next thing, he's at $5 a pound. Then the third guy comes in. He's down the road. He's going to sell it for $4.50 a pound. Next thing, all of them are selling for $4.50 a pound. And then a fourth guy comes in, and he's like, hey, you know what? I can sell this for $4 a pound. Next thing, it's $3 a pound. And they're all $3 a pound, because the more people you put into that organic program, the less money you're going to make. In order to produce a pound of anything, it takes twice as much ground. So if I could conventionally grow celery, a pound of celery on a square foot, say a square foot, and I don't know how they sell celery. I don't buy it that often. I like celery raw. I don't like it cooked, but raw celery I like. But if it takes a square foot to produce a pound of commercially grown celery, it takes 2 square feet to grow it organically. So you need a lot more acreage, and that equates into more labor-intensive production. So organics is going to be the next to go. Now, another thing that I've seen, and I can see the writing on the wall there, is in these CSAs, community-sponsored agriculture. They were not a thing. God, it's still snowing. The ground is turning white. Jesus. So community-sponsored agriculture means that I, Wesley K. Pandy, will purchase a beef cow, a chicken, and a hog for you. And I will raise it. I will raise it to its weight, to slaughter weight, and then I'll give it to you. But you're going to pay me for that before I do anything. So if I buy a beef cow, and it's a calf, it's going to be like, say it's $150 for that beef calf. He's a good grower, nice steer there. He's going to grow good. Going to put on 1.5 to 2.5 pounds a day if I feed it properly. And you're going to want it done organically. So that organic corn is going to cost a lot more money, even though there's no such thing as organic corn unless you kill off all the bees, and nobody's growing corn for 100 miles in every direction, 4 miles in every direction, because that's where the bees are. So anyways, you're still going to get cross-contamination in the pollination. So anyways, you're going to raise that calf. So the calf cost me $150. The feed to raise that calf up is going to cost me thousands. You're going to pay me, it's not going to cost thousands, but it's going to cost a fair amount of money. For a 2 pound a day gain on a calf that you're going to buy, it's going to be about 150 pounds. You're going to want that thing somewhere around 800 to 1,000 pounds before you kill it. A pound of feed, 2 pounds of gain, or whatever it is. I can't even remember because I haven't done it in a while. But there it is. You pay up front before I ever even buy the calf. So that calf is going to cost you, for a 900-pound animal, is going to cost you X number of dollars. You pay that. I have my money. Thank you. And here's the other thing. If it dies, you're shit out of luck. And I've heard that. I'm like, what? What do you mean you're shit out of luck? Well, if the calf dies, then they got to either pay for another calf, or that's it. We're not going to just, it's not our fault that the calf died, because this is an organic way of doing things, and that sort of thing happens, which I get. I mean, calves die. But yeah, hey, you know what? You're half responsible. But these CSAs are popping up everywhere. And I'm not doing it. I am going to do something a little different than what we've ever done. Well, not what we've ever done before, but something a little different. because I have an opportunity to do so, and I'm going to bring my regular YouTubers along with that, or my regular channel, my One Lonely Farmer channel with that, because it is it's going to be interesting. I'm going to build this thing, and we're gonna run it. It's going to be another business. I'm not going to be involved with it too much, but that's just the way it is, and hopefully it works out. If it doesn't, then hey, no skin off my ass. I sell the thing for 10 times what I got into it, and I make out all right. So anyway, I'm going to read a couple of these comments because they're pretty good, and we're 15 minutes in, and I've just been yammering on about things. But this guy, I'm not going to use his name. Stop milking in September, Wes. We were processing our own, and it still wasn't easy. Anyone that calls inquiring about the pasteurizer asks me why I quit. My reply is we still had to milk the cows. Just not enough family interest, and regulations were not fun. We're the lucky ones. Guys out there have mortgaged everything and put up their and are up to their eyeballs in debt. Well, that's absolutely, jug handlers is what we called them. They came around in the 1970s and 80s, and they're all gone. Those short-time units or pasteurizers or whatever they call those, they are expensive. I mean, there's a portable one that isn't even legal to use in New Jersey, and it's like $150,000 and you still have to milk your own cows. So I don't know. It's tough when you can go into a Walmart and pay 99 cents a gallon, or here's one saying Wayne Ray. We are paying $1.38 a gallon in Walmart in Waterloo, Illinois. That's crazy. That's crazy money. That's like not enough. I don't understand how anybody, but they're selling it below cost because to draw people in. They get them in their grocery store. We can sell it below cost, and they scalp them elsewhere. Wayne Ray, fuck Walmart. Boycott them. Buy your dairy elsewhere, or anywhere else but there. I agree. You know what? If that's how it's going to go, they're going to cut out a bunch of dairymen who work really hard, work harder than the CEOs of Walmart, Wally World. Don't go there. Don't go there. We pay over $5 for a gallon here, and yes, that's Canadian. So that was Northern Farmer. That's Canadian money. So that's like, I don't even know what that is in American U.S. dollars, but. Do you happen to know the farm price roughly up in your area? I got $15.22 per hundredweight last month for 4.3. You got 4.3 Butterfat, and you're only getting 15.22 per hundredweight. See, now that's ridiculous. And I got a story for you before I quit, because that was around Erie, Pennsylvania. That was Mad Farmer 912 Dave. 15.22 per hundredweight. That's I'm not sure what it is here either, but he's talking Canadian in Canada. $5 a gallon in the store in Canada. So, it's a little different area, a little different money. Shit, I'm gonna have to call him back too. I'm milking 60 cows in a tie stall barn in Minnesota and need $14.50 to even break even. Yeah. This guy, he asked me if Robert Schumacher, do I remember Johanna Farms? Well, we used to ship there until they shut down and went to Tropicana. Yep, Tropicana. When you grew sunflowers, where did you sell your sunflowers to? I sold them to the deer. The deer love sunflowers. I grew 70 acres of sunflowers one time, and the deer just raped them. I'll never forget shooting a deer up the ass with a 12-gauge shotgun as it ran through my sunflowers, came out the other side, and its rack had sunflowers hanging from it. It was crazy. Yeah. I have to ask, do you save money for retirement? I noticed you said you spend a lot on equipment. Do you plan on selling your assets when you retire to fund your golden years? My savings is no one's business, John Smith. I don't talk about it. I have a plan, and that's better than a lot of people. And it's just really none of your business. You post your business up here on my channel, and I'll post mine. But I highly doubt that you're going to do that, because nobody wants to talk about their finances and what they're doing. If you've made money, where you put it is your business. I mean, I've put money away. Yes. How much? None of your business. And that's just the way it is. I don't know how much of my assets I will sell when I decide to retire, but I will be. Obviously, that's when a farmer retires, is when they sell their equipment, whether they sell it to the next generation or whether they just sell it outright because the next generation doesn't want to use that old equipment. Because there comes a point in your life that you don't buy new equipment. You're like, hey, you know what? I'm 65 years old. Why am I buying a new tractor? That's crazy. I'll just use what I got for the next couple of years, and then I'll sell it when I retire and let some other kid buy it and get started with that. And that's how it goes. So, but there's a lot of things that I do that you don't see on YouTube. So, how many hours would you put on a John Deere windrower in a season? Ballpark number. I understand it differs depending on the amount of acres and the amount of cuts you get done. Well, you answered your own question. How many acres, how fast you're going, the type of crop, and that's how it goes. I don't know how many hours in a season I put on any one. You know, sometimes I'm running the John Deere and sometimes someone else is running the Case. Sometimes we're running them both. Sometimes we're running three, and that makes the hours on each machine vary. So, who knows? It's not the gun, it's the idiot behind it. Bingo! Ban people. It's just like the transmission in that John Deere tractor that I just replaced. That transmission is bulletproof. It really is. It's not the quality of the transmission, it's the quality of the operator and the job that it's doing. So if you're going down the road and you yank that stick back from 15th to 6th gear, that's not how that transmission was designed to work. And it will cause major problems. So, yeah. How much do you think it would cost to replace 4 tires on a farm all age? Call your tire guy. I can't tell you that. Varies around, depending on who you are and who you know and how many tires you buy from a place. What are your thoughts on tariffs and this interest increase that has just happened? I think it will cause another crash like in 2008, and this one will be real bad. The tariffs, I am undecided on what that will do. Great job. All right, so in my opinion, I think the tariffs are a good way to get the American steel and aluminum, Alco, and U.S. steel back into a more efficient production. I think that they should not line the CEO's pockets with the added money that they're going to be having due to the less steel coming into the country, if that's the case. Now, it goes both ways. Now, I said this, I think, in the last one, that if China says we're not buying your corn, your soybeans, your wheat, and your pork, that doesn't mean that China's not going to get U.S.-grown soybeans, corn, wheat, and pork. It just means you're going to call another country up, and this is where I got scolded for simplifying the process. It's the same thing. This steel could come from China into Mexico, and then it could be traded up from Mexico into the United States without a tariff, because there's not going to be a tariff between Mexico and Canada. Or it could go from Canada down, because, we know Trudeau, that idiot up there, who wants the Muslim insurgency to take over his country, and then it's going to trickle down over the Great Lakes when they freeze up and they drive pickup trucks full of these assholes across the border, because there is no wall at the northern border, which needs to be addressed as well as the southern border. But we're getting into politics now, which is crazy. So, if this tariff does do what it's supposed to do, and the CEOs of these companies that it's supposed to be helping out in the steel industry, see, the whole thing is that what Donald Trump and the current administration is trying to do is to create jobs. And if you hold off the stem of these free imports into the U.S., that will increase the amount of steel and aluminum is being produced here. You'll create jobs. And there you go. I was just recently in Japan. There is no Rust Belt in Japan. I took a long drive in Japan from Tokyo to Hiroshima, then back up again, and up to Fuji and around, back down to Chiba-shi. And Chiba City, Chiba-shi, I was all through there. So, I didn't see one factory that was shut down. In the United States, there's the thing called the Rust Belt, and that is because these other countries have been able to import stuff into the United States cheaper than we can produce it. So, so China decides they're going to stop importing grain, importing grain from the United States. It's going to go there from here. It's just going to go in a roundabout way. And I don't care what investor or what trader says that I'm a stupid jackass. I am not a stupid jackass. I'm telling you, that's how it's going to work. Because China is a huge importer of soybeans, corn, pork, and I'm sure it's wheat too. Or milo, not wheat, milo or sorghum. This shit doesn't just grow in the middle of the ocean. What they're not buying from us directly can't be purchased from somewhere else directly because it just doesn't exist there. When there's only a 2 or a 3 day carryover in the grain stores from one year to the next, where's billions of bushels of corn and soybeans and milo and pork going to come from? Think about this. It's going to come from here. They're going to call up another country and say, hey, can you get me 10 million metric tons of soybeans? And they're going to say, sure. Click. Hey, United States growers, can we ship 10 million metric tons to China? And they're going to say, sure. What's the price? They want it a little cheaper than they were going to buy it from you, so can you fuck the farmer in the ass a little bit and just ship it? And I'll take my cut too. And that's how it works. I don't know how much more complicated than that it has to be, because that's the way it works. I'm sorry if you don't believe me. I'm sorry if you don't think that that's the way it works. I'm sorry that the person that you work for does not give you the information directly to you, but that's how this shit works. Just like anything else. If I want to buy diesel fuel, and the cheapest place I can get it from is right down here in Frenchtown, right? So he goes to Duck Island, which is in Trenton, and I don't want to deal with a guy in Frenchtown because I just don't want to deal with the guy in Frenchtown. I don't like him. He's a jerk. All right, that's not true. I mean, I'm just giving an example. So I call up the little guy, the little guy that I do deal with and I do like, and I say, hey, do you think you could get me some diesel fuel? And he says, well, sure, I can get you that diesel fuel. And he gives me the price, but it's like 10 cents cheaper than the other guy. Well, why is it 10 cents cheaper than the other guy? I said, well, because I don't need to make as much money as him because I don't have all this overhead and stuff. And he's got to pay his entire family before you get your diesel fuel. And but by the way, where are you getting your diesel fuel from? Oh, I'm getting it from Duck Island. Oh, you're getting it from Duck Island? Is it premium fuel or is it the cheap pipeline shit? No, it's premium. We make sure we get all the additives and everything, and it's quality diesel fuel. We'll sell it to you for 10 cents a gallon less than the guy down the road here. So, and that's the way it is. That's just the way it works. Same shit. Comes from the same place. Same fuel. Goes into the tank. 10 cents a gallon less. So we'll just put the guy down in Frenchtown as Brazil or Argentina, and we'll take the little guy that can sell it for 10 cents a gallon cheaper and or sell sell it for 10 cents a bushel more or less or more value to the farmer, one way or the other. That's just the way it is. So here's the little guy, even though it's backwards. The big guy is the United States, the little guy is Brazil. I don't know, whatever. It just all in how many hands it has to pass through before it gets to its destination. That's what dictates the price. So China can say, we're not buying U.S. grown food. They're getting U.S. grown food, whether they like it or not. They know it. It's just a media marketing ploy. That's it. The media grabs a hold of it. Oh my God, they're going to stop growing corn and soybeans or buying corn and soybeans from the U.S. Well, no, they're not. They're just going to buy it from someone else who's going to buy it from the United States, and it's still going to go to China. But with that, thanks for watching. 30 minutes, really? Have a good day.